In the 2020 census, the public was significantly more likely in 2020 than in previous years to say that racism is a big problem in the United States. It was shown in 2020, 60% versus 49% in 2015. My name is Taylor Davis, and I'll be talking about how the Black Lives Matter movement helped towards equality. My question was, how has the Black Lives Matter movement revealed people's cultural ignorances and injustices towards African Americans? What is Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter is a political and social movement started in 2013 with the hashtag Black Lives Matter on social media. It focuses on inequality, racism, and discrimination towards African Americans and working to get rid of that. The movement made slow progress towards equality till 2020 when George Floyd was murdered by police. And this started an uproar in the community because it was viewed as an unfair death, or it was an unfair death. The support for the movement is shown through protests, riots, social media, and advertisements / merchandising. Effects of the Black Lives Matter movement. It increased cultural awareness, racism awareness, and it made people more likely to speak out against racism. It also increased cultural confidence. Referring back to my research question, what are cultural injustices? A cultural injustice is when somebody may believe that one race is better than the other, or superior or inferior to another. An example would be if you're not able to find a job due to your race, unequal pay between races, and police brutality against a certain race. An example of this is from a letter to my nephew by James Baldwin. And he said, you were born and faced the future that you face because you were black and for no other reason. You were born into a society which spelled out with brutal clarity and in as many ways possible that you were a worthless human being. What are cultural ignorances? A cultural ignorance is not being educated about cultures or races. An example would be making fun of someone for speaking loudly because of their culture and that's how things are where they're from, or picking on someone's hair or facial features. An example of this cultural ignorances is when someone does cultural appropriation, which is the adoption of an element of a non-dominant culture without that culture approving. This can contribute to oppression or stereotypes. In Vanishing Voices by Russell, different languages highlight the varieties of human experience, revealing as multiple aspects of life that we tend to think of as settled and universal, such as our experience of time, number, or color. The disappearing of languages is similar to when someone does cultural appropriation, because when someone does that, they're making fun of somebody's culture, like taking away from it or like contributing to the oppression of it, which is like if someone takes away their language or the language is lost, part of them is lost. And this is examples of cultural appropriation. Possible solutions to my problem would be to introduce more cultural and racial education in schools, continue to spread awareness through social media, and educate the youth about racism so they will not do it accidentally by being ignorant. This is a graph that shows the percent of adults that have done the following activities on social media in the past year in 2020, supporting a hashtag for racial awareness or profile pictures or supporting protests or rallies. Limitations to my solutions are that schools may not be able to fund new activities or materials or lessons. And to solve that limitation, they could try to fundraise in the community because the supporters would fundraise their cause. And some people may see like educating more on a certain race as making one race more superior. And to combat that, you could just put more education on all minorities instead of just African Americans. In conclusion, Black Lives Matter brought attention to many of the racial problems in society, influenced many to educate themselves on African Americans or any cultures to not offend anybody. And it made more people likely to speak up about discrimination or racism going on in society.
All right. Okay, a couple questions for you. What information did you need that you weren't able to find or locate?
I had trouble with like finding specific maybe like events that happened that were directly because of the Black Lives Matter movement that helped solve like racism and discrimination. Like I had trouble finding maybe a website that had like listed that out, specific examples. It was more broad.
Okay. And since you asked, what are the implications of your finding to your community?
In our community, when this was going on, we had also riots or not riots, protests, and a lot of support for the movement. This, I think, in our community helped it a lot, caused awareness, and more people were conscious of their actions towards others.
All right. Thank you.